Hey everyone, it's Liam the Deaf Doom Metalhead. I hope you're all well. It's time for another collection update. So I've got a bag load of vinyl to show you, and also some CDs from a certain record label here in the UK. So I'll start off with that first. Hi, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I talk about all the underground stuff, doom, death, black, metal, thrash, anything really. But my bag is more of the underground death and doom metal. So if you want to hear more, obviously subscribe, like my channel, check out my other videos. But yeah, here it goes. So in the UK there is a label called Aesthetic Death Records, run by a guy called Stuart. He kind of specializes in more of the underground sound. So you've got atmospheric doom, death metal, black metal, synth kind of stuff like dungeon synth, which isn't really my cup of tea, but quite a lot of metalheads do like it. And yeah, and he messaged me when I was buying something on Discogs to say, "Oh, I know who you are you in Consecration?" I was like, "Yeah, I am." And he knew my band, and weirdly enough, he had a CD of ours for sale on his shop as well. But he sent me a link as we got talking. Really nice bloke. And he's got loads of stuff that I've been after for years. Like, if you're into like kind of like what I am, like Russian doom and death metal. I mean, Russia's a big place, but it's very hard to find CDs of theirs outside of the country. So if you're happy to pay the shipping and take a gamble on it being genuine, because I have been burnt in the past where you buy from there and you never see it, it can be a bit risky, but he stocks quite a fair bit. So I was going through there, and I brought a few CDs, and he also chucked in a few free ones as well for me to check out. Completely free, brand new, full length albums, which I thought was fantastic. So I'll show you them now. So this one I've wanted for a long time, and that is When Nothing Remains, which is a Swedish death doom band. They were formed in 2010. And I believe this was put out in 2012. This is the first of 3 full lengths. All the artwork looks kind of similar. I don't know if there's a storyline behind it or anything like that. I haven't really looked into it that much, but that was put out through glare on this is awful, so I do apologise. Solitude Productions, which is a label I'm obviously signed to as well, but they put out so many bands that I've never heard of, and there's always good stuff. And that was one of them. It's got the they split up now. It had the guitarist from Nox Aurea, I think it is. He who writes pretty much all their music did this band as well. So if you know what I'm talking about, which you probably don't, but if you do, this is some really good death doom. Loads going on as well. Yeah, it's just really good. And also you had this one that I've been after for a while, and this is a Russian band called Ad Fail. And this is the album Is It a Game, which was put out in 2013 through Dark Nagi Music, and also the Russian side label Bad Moon Man Music, if you can say that. Some really good death doom again, as it always is when I buy stuff, but this has got more of a gothic element to it as well. So you've got the growly stuff, but there's some 90s kind of goth influenced metal in here especially, and the kick drum sounds great on this album as well. Guitars sound really cool. Dream of an Astronaut is one of my favourite tracks, but there's some really good instrumentals on here as well, loads of atmosphere. It's fucking awesome. And then they had this one that I've been after for since it came out, and I was really happy because this is one of the ones I tried to buy and it never came over. And that is, I can't pronounce the band properly, but Soji, I'm guessing. Soj. But that is the album As the Sun Sets on Life through, again, Solitude Productions. And this is fucking awesome. I've streamed this for ages, and now I finally have a physical copy of it. It's such a good album. It's death doom again, but the guitars sound immense. The vocals are really good. It's got a mix of clean and guttural kind of stuff. The drums sound massive. Everything you want on a death doom album, is right here. These are a Russian band, I believe, as well. No, they're Swedish. Sorry, these are Swedish. I think there's another full length they've put out, but I haven't got that one. But this is a really, really good album. I believe it's only been put out on CD. If it's on vinyl, let me know, because I'll quite happily get that. But yeah, so check that one out. And then he threw in a couple of free ones on my order that I, never heard of. would never have brought or checked out unless, obviously someone tells me about it. So the first one, this was sealed, brand new, Whelm with gaze blank and pitless as the sun. And that's put through out for his own label in 2015. Authentic Death Record, I can't even fucking say it. I'll put a link in the description so you know what I'm talking about. But the album artwork, I've seen on quite a few albums, so I'm guessing it's a piece of artwork from somewhere, because I've seen this on other albums, and I know a friend of mine, Tony, shared an album the other day and it had exactly the same picture on it. But this is a fucking great album. Hard to describe it. I mean, apparently it was recorded all in one take, and like via analog, so it's not a digital release. They did it all live there and then. And they only put this in one album out, and then they split up. And then I believe Stuart picked it up and re-released it through his own label. So I think it was a self-release before that. But there's so much going on. It's like kind of like, when you listen to like a Pink Floyd album, you kind of have to just sit there and absorb it. But it's the guitars are so shreddy on it. It's so good. I mean, it really surprised me. I mean, I've played it a few times now. I've never heard of it. Would never have checked them out unless someone said it to me. The CD's, no fucking title or nothing on it. It's just a piece of artwork. The only reason I know it's called Whelm is because it says it on a CD. But yeah, really, really good album. So worth checking that one out. And then he sent me this one without a case. So kind of my OCD kind of can't handle it. But, it is what it is. It's free. I didn't pay for it. And that is the band Redo. And I mean, this came out last year, this album. So the only thing looking at the disc, I can only assume it's maybe a misprint, maybe, with a sticker. But we classed it as extreme funeral doom, which is not really my genre. I mean, I like funeral doom to a point. There's only certain bands that will do it for me in that genre, like Convocation, Evoke, and Esoteric on some albums as well, which he puts out on his own label, Stuart, because they are signed to, I think, his label, Aesthetic Records. But this is, I put it on in the background when I was working the other week in here. Very, very atmospheric. Again, like a Pink Floyd album, you kind of have to sit there and just absorb it. The songs are quite long. I think there's only 4 tracks, something like that. But it is really, really good. The guitars sound really heavy on it. Guttural vocals, and there's like some spiritual bits in there. And he was telling me apparently they meditate, so you kind of hear it in their music. And he's right, you do. So it's not something you could put on in the car, because I'm guessing if you did, you'd probably drive off a bridge listening to it. Especially on long journeys, which I do for work, so it's definitely not recommended. But if you want something to work to in the background and you're sitting in a safe environment, check that out, because it's well worth your time. So that's Authentic Death, or Authentic Death, whatever the fuck you say it. I'll put a link in the bottom. Check them out. Postage is really cheap, and he's got bags of shit on there that, if you're into extreme metal like me, you will like. So yeah. So moving on to vinyls. I've got a fair few here. I'll kick off one that was shown the other week on a friend of mine's channel, and he had it on there and I had to have it. And that's Edge of Sanity's Unorthodox. Most people on here, I hope, have heard of this album, or of this band anyway. It's done by Dan Swano, who's a very, very good record producer, and I've mentioned on here before, and I've got tons of his albums in the background that he's worked on. Essentially, this is HM2 Swedish death metal, one of the originators of the era, the time. He sounds great. I mean, he's got a very, very good guttural vocal style, Dan Swano. And this is a very, very popular album. Flows really nicely. It's a bit beat up, this one I got. I mean, you can see creases there. I mean, it was very cheap. I didn't pay much for it. But it was sealed, but it had been probably sat in a box or somewhere like that. But, yellow vinyl to go with the album artwork. Really, really solid album. Been wanting it for years, but it's just, when you saw the prices of it, you never would have paid for it. Well, I wouldn't have anyway. I believe this is just a re-release through Black Mark Records. I'm not sure if that's what the first press was put through. I'm guessing it would have been something, maybe like Nuclear Blast, maybe, or something like that. I don't know, but great album. Really, if you like Entombed, anything Swedish death metal wise, you're gonna like this. If you've not already heard it before, it's a classic. So yeah, Edge of Sanity. Very happy to have that one. And sticking with the Swedes, I added another one to my Fireborn collection, and that's their second release, the Reprobate. Again, through Century Media Records. I believe all 3 of their albums are through Century Media. Loving the artwork, as always. It's fantastic, and this is a really good album as well. The first one is very solid, and normally with some bands, the second one kind of hit they either hit the mark or they don't. But this one just carries on where the first one left off. Really, the guitar work is still incredibly technical. Especially on the lead work is fantastic. I believe the guitarist Frederick is his name. He's in Unleashed. He does all the lead work for the band. Fucking awesome. Really good stuff. And I've never really listened to Unleashed, and listening to these guys and listening to his solos kind of made me want to check them out. So if you know any albums I should check out, obviously let me know. But I'll eventually get around to checking them out. But if you don't know who Fireborn are, essentially it's got LG Petrov from Entombed, Frederick, like I said, from Unleashed, I believe another chap who was in Entombed AD, and other Victor, I think his name was. He's also on guitars. The drummer on here, he was in Dark Funeral at one point for quite a few albums. So very, very strong pedigree. And it's a Century Media one, so you get the CD, you get a poster, as you do with most of them. There's the boys there, looking moody. LG Petrov, Victor, who was also in Entombed. This is the guy I've been talking about, Mr. Shreddy McGee over here. He can fucking shred for days. Drummer, bass player, he looks fucking terrifying. But yeah, really happy to get this. Didn't pay that much for it either. Went down quite a bit on Amazon, so I jumped on that straight away. Black vinyl. So I only got to get one more and I've got the whole set, so I'm very happy about that. This one I was very, very, very happy to get, and I'm very proud of my 2 boys, even though one's 7, the other one's only 1, for getting me this for Father's Day. But that is Candlemass's The Door to Doom, which came out last year through Napalm. Yeah. I mean, my boys know me well. I mean, I've got a Candlemass tattoo on my arm there, so they kind of, I do my Amazon wish lists, I give it to the wife and go, you know what to do. And my oldest obviously saw this and went, oh yeah, he fucking loves that. He wouldn't have said that, hopefully, but needless to say, he knew what he was getting, and he'd done a stellar job. This is a double 180 gram black vinyl release, so it weighs a ton and it feels great, sounds great. And I know I've listened to this album a few times and I put off buying it because I've always wanted it as a gift. There's the inside, some kind of hearse. But it's a fantastic album, especially the fact that Johan Landquist, the original vocalist, is back in the band, and they sound. I mean, the last couple of demos they put out with I can't remember the chap's name, who kind of filled in the gap when they kind of went into semi-retirement. They're all right, but they didn't really capture that Candlemass feel for me. That I'm a guy who grew up listening to Messiah's vocals on Candlemass, and then Robert Lowe joined the band, who's a big, massive influence on me and one of my favourite vocalists. He then joined the band, but those albums again are a bit hit and miss. Definitely prefer Solitude Eternus, Robert Lowe, to Candlemass, Robert Lowe. But Johan Landquist on this is a fucking monster. Fantastic vocals. And the best bit is it's got Tony Iommi on it, who, another tattoo on my arm. It's like a god. And you got him on there, you got Candlemass on it. It's, easily one of my favourite albums from last year. So yeah, very, very happy to have that. And thank you to my boys. And then I got this one on a sale when I was buying birthday presents for the wife. I saw this and I thought, oh, I have to have that. And that is Hooded Menace's Never Cross the Dead, that's right. Which was originally released 2010 through Dementia, which I believe it doesn't exist anymore. I think that label's folded. But this is a Hammerheart 2020 release, remaster. Double black vinyl. And yeah, if you don't know who Hooded Menace are, they are a Finnish death doom band, one of the big ones of the genre. And that, fantastic. If you want that authentic kind of doomy sounding riffs, like almost, they're heavily inspired by Candlemass, I know that much. If you want that kind of sound mixed with some really guttural Finnish style death metal vocals, look no further than these guys. They put in the old horror tracks. I don't know where it's linked to because I don't watch horror, but They're a great band. Every album theirs is solid. I don't think they've ever put out a bad release for me anyway. So I was really happy to find this on the site when I was shopping around, and I jumped on that. So yeah, Hooded Menace, check them out. And lastly, so we don't go to the 20-minute mark, I completed my memoriam collection. So again, like the Fireborn one, I was shopping around. These were dropping in price by quite a fair bit. So I pulled the trigger and bought both of them, and that is the second one, the Silent Vigil, and then the last year's one, Requiem for Mankind, both through Nuclear Blast, as in the first one is as well. All black vinyl. And if you don't know who Memoriam are, they are obviously a British grind death metal band formed from former members of Bolt Thrower, Benediction. Carl Willits does the vocals, who everyone knows, Bolt Thrower. Andy Wales, the drummer, obviously drummed on War Master, Fourth Crusade, all those classic Bolt Thrower albums. And then you've got, who was the other chap? Frank Healy, bass player from Benediction. But Scott Fairfax, who I guess is the only one who isn't part of those, old school famous bands, guitar riffs on this album especially are fucking awesome. Really heavy, really dirty and chunky, really, fist bumpy. Fantastic stuff. I really, really like this album. I like them all, to be fair, all three of them, the one back there as well. They're all great to me. A lot of people didn't like the second one. They thought it was a bit too weak. It is compared to that one. Songwriting on that one, they obviously really stepped it up, but I still think that's a really solid release. I really enjoy it. As a whole album, I must admit, since having them on vinyl, they do sound better. So if you're like me and you agree, vinyl does sound better. It really does. You can buy an album on CD and it's like, yeah, put it on vinyl, totally different experience for me. Especially when I'm sitting here and I put it on and it's blasting me in the back of the head. It's good shit. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, I'll put a link in the description below for Stuart's label and page, because it's definitely worth checking out if you want some extreme stuff. And like I say, the postage is really cheap, and he's got some proper obscure stuff on there that you probably wouldn't find on most sites. And you might be lucky like me and you might throw in an extra CD or here and there to make it sweeten the deal for you. So yeah, please like and subscribe if you've stayed with me this long. Thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.